They just wrote this person out. It was like, well, no, there was that made sense and within the realm of the story that character left or died or whatever.
And in some instances, it's kind of helped the party, either intentionally or non-intentionally. Like Eldith, when she died.
And Shushar sacrificing himself.
That's true.
So that I get saved.
Yeah.
They're almost like bonus lives.
Yeah.
In some respects.
Oh my god, 9 lives. You're all cats.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna die. Push that NPC in front of me. Human shield!
Meat shield! Okay, so obviously you're enjoying it, which I'm very happy to hear. Are there any particular aspects of the campaign that you're like, yeah, this is my favorite part, or this is something that confuses me, or things you're looking forward to, or?
I really like the mushroom scenery that you described.
Oh right, yes.
It's just like these huge tree mushrooms and little mushrooms, and you're going around foraging. It's just like makes you think of like this magical forest within like this terrible dark. Area, so that's pretty cool.
And not to stroke your ego too much.
No, please go on.
Seriously though, but the whole theatrics of like where we have our sessions is like adds a lot to it. Like the
physical.
Did you talk about this? Yeah, I don't remember.
Actually, you know what? Did I?
Maybe?
Because in Ant's living room where we play.
This is where we play. You're sitting at our table right now.
He's taken out all the regular light bulbs in his lamps and replace them with like purple hues and blue and green to simulate the lichen or the lichen, whatever, the lichin, and
like glowing funguses
and the glowing fungi of the Underdark, and that adds a whole other element that immerses you in the role play. So I think that's if you can do it. If you can immerse your players in that way, do it. And we have a snack too. That's the great
snack.
part. We have themed D&D night snacks. Like one night we had, because all that we had to eat in the elf prison, the dark elf prison, drow prison, were like mushrooms. And so on Willow brought like stuffed mushroom caps.
cheese stuffed mushroom caps. Yeah, those were awesome.
And then when the Kuatoa were all murdered,
which are like they're like fish people,
Anth made us some smoked salmon on blue tinted bread.
Yeah, because of spore bread. Spore bread is a bread they make in the Underdark that's from ground blue mushrooms.
And so that's all adding to the atmosphere of your physical play area, which, like I said, enhances not only the roleplay experience but your ability to roleplay because you're in it.
And the reason I did that too is because I know that it can get a little bit funny and goofy when you're roleplaying, and that's fine. That's part of the fun of playing the game. But when you're trying also to maintain a game atmosphere that is actually, you know what, Josh? Would you terribly mind just opening the door for her? And then the beautiful people on the internet don't have to hear the dog whine. He'll be right back, folks. But when you are trying to run a campaign that very much relies on the atmosphere being dark and dreadful and hopeless in a certain sense. I mean, you're miles and miles underground for this campaign. There is no sunlight. There is very little light for the most part. As Ryan, playing the only human character, has found out with his lack of dark vision. He's like, where's the bad guy? I got my torch. So that's fun. But I thought to myself when I was getting everything ready, well, how do I fully immerse my characters in this dark, dank, no light underground area if we're just playing under bright light? And actually what's funny about that is that one of the things that I'm not looking forward to contend with as a DM is that, now we're halfway through March, we're coming into summer, we're into daylight savings, we always start at 7, and it was easy during the winter to just close the blinds and get that pure darkness, only light is the glow of the purple. But now we're going to be like, it's kind of light outside still.
There are cracks in the ceiling.
Yeah. Well, we're really close to the surface, guys. It won't be long now.
Light funguses.
Yeah. So, but no, I'm glad to hear that you guys appreciate that. Now, there was something before Josh went into the physical atmosphere that we do for the game that you had mentioned that I can't quite remember that I wanted to talk about. What did you say before? if you recall.
What did I say before? Good question.
I'm sure we'll come back to a worst case scenario.
Question we all must ask
I
ourselves.
don't know what I'm saying.
No, it's fine though. But no. Now, based on your experience with the story, are there anything that is there anything you're looking forward to, or any mysteries that you're pondering?
Oh, that friggin' Pt2.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
as a character, I feel like Bard wouldn't be like, oh, he's definitely probably tracking us, or like we should be worried about this,
Mhm.
like, overlord that he mentioned. But
Right.
me as a person, I'm like, I'm not looking forward to this.
Right.
Who is he worshipping?
Basically, I don't want my character to turn into like a Louisiana ashtray.
yeah.
I don't want him to get hollowed out.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Pt2 for that
Yeah.
reason in particular.
Is that
Yeah.
what they do?
What?
That's just a
Darrows?
No, not necessarily,
Oh my
but
God,
like
okay.
the whole idea with Pepito was that he was one of the prisoners and he was very affable, very friendly, very part of the team. And then as soon as they escaped the drow, he took an opportunity to just murder someone, like ritualistically murder someone.
Oh,
he's super murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think he
Ripped to pieces
he
almost.
cut them open and rearranged all the organs and had So and then
This is how it should be.
to Sir Bastian's credit, he rooted out that mystery fairly quick.
Yes, he did.
Not so much to his credit is he let him get away, and he just ran into the night. And you guys have not heard or seen from him since
I grabbed
session
him.
2.
But
You did.
For some reason, he got away.
Yeah, well, I think it's because I believe I had you make a dex throw or something to see if you could snag him, and it just wasn't quite enough.
Oh, okay.
So you grabbed his shirt and he kind of wriggled out of it and ran off.
So technically, in my inventory, I should have a Pt2
Pepito's rags. Awesome.
Hey, you never know.
Well, if you ever find a bloodhound, I mean, yeah.
Oh my God.
My God.
Yeah, holy God. I should just keep my mouth shut. But no, one of the big changes that's coming up for you guys is that, we have had 5 sessions of play, and so far those sessions have been escape from a prison, wander the tunnels of the Underdark, basically encounter crazy fish people and witness the rise of Demogorgon, the demon prince, and then a session of just traveling down the Dark Lake, and then a session exploring this kind of mini side dungeon, which is, I really hate that you weren't there for that. It was so cool.
I hate that too because I love like Egyptian, like in tombs and
Yeah.
stuff. And then I was watching the video and I was like, I'm so sad I missed
There was
this.
even a sarcophagus with a curse and
I
everything.
know.
It was pretty cool. So and that's it. But now that session ended with you guys getting to the Grates of Gracklestugh. And that is the first. Now going into whenever we get our next session, I'm hoping it's just going to be next weekend.
That'd be nice.
That is, yeah.
Provided you don't have plans.
Of course. Listen, Josh, I'm very important. But
To yourself.
it's to myself. Does anything else matter? Come on. But it's going to be your guys' first experience in this campaign in the Underdark with actual civilization. And one of the things that's interesting about that is that, it's like, oh, wow, we're out of the wilderness and into an actual city with, buildings and markets and that kind of thing. But it's still going to be weird and alien, and this is still not right, and we still need to get the hell out of here, because Gracklestugh, or the City of Blades, is a city of Duergar, which are like gray dwarves, and their alignment, and we can talk about this meta-wise, because there's the understanding that, the player can know, that doesn't mean that the character knows.
Right.
But
Google exists.
And Google exists, and on top of that, a couple of the NPCs have spoken to your characters and say,
Right.
Be careful in Gracklestugh, because all of these gray dwarves have an alignment of lawful evil. So neither of you were there at the last session, actually, correct?
That's true.
Yeah. So one of the things that the characters actually found out in talking to some of those fellow prisoners that are of the Underdark, like Sereth the Drow and Jimjar the Deep Gnome, that kind of thing. They're like, look, if we're going to go in here, tread lightly, because the way that these guys work is that they have a very strict set of laws, and crime is virtually non-existent because all gray dwarves have the innate ability to turn invisible. So it's kind of like Gestapo is everywhere. So no one commits crime because there's always the chance that the Stone Guard are watching. So there's little to no crime. And if accidental crime happens, then it's just a matter of repay the damages in goods or services. But that's for gray dwarves. If foreigners ever commit a crime, it is law that any Duergar on site can summarily execute that person.
It's like early medieval Welsh laws.
Well, and this is the thing is the idea is that they are extreme pragmatists. So they're like, you know, to punish by mutilation or imprisonment or whatever is a waste of society's resources. So if you do something bad, you're just dead. They'll just kill you. So this is the idea now where it's like, you know, they have a slave-based economy. They have this very strict set of laws. They're not friendly towards foreigners. And now here you are and have fun. So it's going to be interesting. And there's I mentioned this to just like meta-wise to the players at the end of our last session is like you guys are probably going to be in Gracklestug for like at least I'd say 3 sessions or more. Like Gracklestug could be its own side adventure within this campaign.
I'm not gonna miss the Underdark travel.
Yeah, the random encounters of the Underdark.
How Clerks 2 describes Lord of the Rings.
Of all the walking.
It's a lot of walking.
Even the trees walked in that movie. Yeah, no, for sure I can, and that's what I think I like about it too is that you guys have had a nice taste of wandering around in the dark and hating your lives. You know, one thing that I can tell you guys, I'm part of a Facebook group for Out of the Abyss that is just DMs. It's DMs only kind of thing. And so I get to experience what other player groups are doing as they go through.
How do we stack up?
Well, yeah, this is exactly it. Is that, you know, our campaign, I would say, is, you know, quote unquote right on track. You know, I don't think, I hope you guys don't feel like I've railroaded you at all to like making any particular choice.
No.
But one thing that is different is when you guys escaped Velkenvelf, the original Drow prison that you were in. You know, you escaped during the chaos of that, you know, demon skirmish that was happening, and I had a lot of the guards leave their post to go and fight those demons that were flying around, which gave you an opportunity, you know, albeit a costly one in some ways. I gave you an opportunity to get all your starting equipment. A lot of player groups don't have their starting equipment. All of that wandering around to sloop loot up you guys did, they basically did with like their rock shivs they found in the prison and rags. They had nothing.
Oh my word.
Yeah, and so it's like for a lot of people, those first 3 levels in those first couple sessions are a lot more brutal. And you guys know how hard they were for you. So imagine it if you have no armor and you have no weapons and you have no spell components and that kind of thing.
So you're a monk?
Yeah, you, and that's a fair point. There's actually another video series that and if he watches or if someone in the DM group happens to watch this, there's a guy, and please do not watch his stuff because it will be major spoilers for the campaign. There's a channel called Shane Plays, and he does his own DM journal, and he was a huge way that I prepped for this campaign, and he.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shane. He had a monk in his party too, and it was the same kind of thing. It was like, oh, no one has their starting equipment, but the monk just punches things to death still, you know. So,
but he's not a Toro monk, I don't think.
He's not a Turtle monk.
My starting AC is
oh my
19
god, yeah,
because of my shell.
The Turtle monk is hilarious.
It's the tanky monk.
Do you have damage resistance, by the way? Like, does your shell give you resistance to like piercing or slashing or something, or just high AC?
I'll tell you.
He's got his character sheet in front of him. He's checking it right now. Autumn Willow, on the other hand, has her compendium of character sheets of all her play.
I don't know if I have anything for shell defense.
Yeah, I wasn't. I just wanted to check
because I have that one thing I can do is just pop into my shell at any point.
That is true. I forgot about that.
+4, so it would bring me back. It would bring me up to like armor 23.
Yeah. But you can't do anything, right?
I would get advantages on strength and con checks, but my speed is 0. What did I write here? I'm at disadvantage for dex, and I can't take any reactions. I can only just come back out.
Right. You literally turtle up.
I can hold breath for an hour. Remember when we were like fighting in boats?
In the water, yeah.
And stuff? I was like, I think I can hold my breath.
Yeah.
Don't know why I didn't.
When you were fighting aquatic trolls.
Yeah.
That was almost a nightmare.
Those like mermaid characters, those are pretty cool.
Oh,
but no, I don't have.
Yeah,
I don't think I have any resistance to those kind of things.
So, I don't know. Is there anything else that you guys would want to mention about just your experience playing this campaign, or is this like a good transition point to just what your experience has been as RPGers?
I want the Demigorgon mini.
Yes, so do I. So do I.
I really liked the introduction of the Demigorgon because I had forgotten that we had a conversation like months prior that
Right.
this was like, Stranger Things, they were kind of like playing this quest or like mentioning this quest.
That's right, yeah.
And then they like came out and I was like, oh, Demigorgon, why did I not remember that conversation?
That's right, yeah.
Is this like a re-released version of that?
No, I don't believe so. I think it just happens that way. Like the Demogorgon is a very iconic
It's like a
villain.
game staple.
It is. It's been around since one of the very earliest editions, maybe even the first edition of D&D that came out in the 70s. And because of that, if you watch Stranger Things on Netflix, and if you don't, highly recommend it. Great show. The very first episode has all the main characters, all the kids sitting around a table in the basement in the 80s playing D&D, and it just happens to be that they're fighting the Demigorgon. And fun fact, the miniature that they're using on their little table is the actual like original miniature for the Demigorgon.
Yeah,
and you can actually buy that now from Wizards. They like re-released the classic kind of double snake-headed looking Demigorgon. Which I like the new, like this is the Demigorgon on the front here, and you can see he's got like a lizard bottom and baboon heads and tentacle arms and that kind of stuff.
Demon.
Yeah, it's really quite scary. He's like the Prince of Madness kind of thing, which is neat. So
Take on the Monkey King.
And the reason that we're actually playing this one is because when Stranger Things season 2 came out, I was watching it, and Ryan had said, we're coming close to the end of this campaign. And I essentially said, well, I'd be willing to try DMing something. And as I was watching, I thought, oh, wow. I was looking through all the books available, and I saw this, and I thought, well, wouldn't that be neat on the heels of Stranger Things to actually run a campaign where I'm not going to even necessarily say he's the main villain, but where one of the big villains is the Demigorgon. I thought it brought just an extra kind of where the zeitgeist of the times happens to be
I think
swinging.
we all watched that show too.
I think so.
It's relevant to our experience.
Yeah, totally.
Just like a good
and our subculture as well.
I always bring in teaching, just like a good lesson.
It's a teachable moment.
Yeah, it's a teachable moment.
It's a teachable moment.
It's relatable to the students.
So that's good.
You
Okay. Cool.
Math.
Well, awesome. So then, so let's kind of do. I'm just trying to check our time. We're almost at an hour already. It looks like, but that's cool.
If you're watching this, chances are you don't have anything else to do. So
or you know what? I've actually gotten some feedback from people that they'll listen to these while they're painting miniatures,
cool.
or while they're like on an elliptical machine or something.
That's what I should do.
and even Joe told me that he listened to the episode where Ryan and I discussed our impressions of Star Wars Legion on his drive from Sudbury, and it was
nice.
The whole 1.5 hours.
It's like almost like a podcast.
It is almost like a podcast, but if I were to do a podcast, and I might still, you will be able to see my beautiful face, and I'm very vain. So, come on.
Just my comments I hold to myself. Is there any more espresso in here?
I don't know. You're very welcome to check.
Willow, do you want some
Oh
more?
my god, I'm not even finished my first one. For a while, I was like jittering. I'm like, okay, I need my buddy to stop jittering. Someone bump the table.
I'm Boy the Barbarian.
No, but we'll try not to let this go too much longer, anyways, because you know what? Just what time is it right now? Do you know?
It is.
It's 11.
11:12. And just as an interesting side note, here in North Bay this week, we are actually hosting the Women's World Curling Championship. So teams from all over the world for women's curling, right on the heels of the Winter Olympics of 2018, are in our little town, and they're starting today. And I actually have tickets to go see them play at 2:00.
Our little town of what?
52,000.
Our town of North Bay, gateway to the north. You are my home.
This is why I can't take you nice places.
This is why you should take me to all the nice places.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so then we'll just kind of quickly touch on our next piece then, and this I think will actually be even more interesting than just getting your taste on where you're at in the campaign, because like we mentioned earlier, Josh has been playing role-playing games since he's been in high school, and he has acting experience that goes even further than that. And Autumn Willow has been playing for at least a year and a half to 3 years, depending on if you want to cut hairs on the systems. And so it's kind of like a slightly more veterancy over here than over here. And I'd love to know what you guys find as a challenge to playing a role-playing game, and things that you've kind of learned and picked up along the way.
Well, like, I don't know, just because I've done a lot of theater doesn't mean I'm necessarily good at improv.
Right.
Because I'm not. Unless it's like object improv, in which case I'm gonna be like, oh, look at this. See, I'm not even good at that. I couldn't think of something. It's a cup. Oh, damn it. No,
that's all I got. I'm spent.
In regard to the performing arts, like improv is probably my weakest area.
Okay.
Like I can react well on stage if I forget a line or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
but in regard to like actual like, this is where like this is your situation.
Yeah.
This is your location. Go. I'm not very good at that. So one of the advantages, of course, to the turtle is that I can take my time to think it out. And so I think that's kind of benefited me in that way, is to work on my improvisational skills,
okay.
Which I find difficult. Like that's probably the biggest challenge to me.
Probably to any player, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I played with some players who are fairly comfortable in the roleplay aspect, but for whatever reason, cannot for the life of them grasp the rules. I used to have, and I'm not gonna name their name, but if you're watching, you'll probably know who you are, and I apologize. I used to have a roommate in university, and at that point in time, the really big game to play was Call of Duty. And that was a great way for me and my friends to stay connected, was like, oh, we have our hangouts at night, just they're online and we talk on the mic and all that kind of thing. But he played with us for like at least 2 years, I think. And the joke was, it's like no matter how much he played this game, he never got any better. He just capped out at day 3 of how much he would get better at that game. And that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the bottom line is that some people are quite comfortable in the role play aspect, but can't for the life of them get the rules under their belt. Like they just don't put together, well, what do I roll for this and what number does that mean and that kind of thing.
I can be pretty bad for that too.
Sometimes.
How many dices do I use?
How many of the dices?
Varying prefixes and suffixes.
See, you're smart though.
You're
a smart man. But yeah, so that's a good point. I think that a lot of players will struggle with one or both aspects of the game, which is fine, because if you're playing with a good group of people, they're gonna just be there to say, yeah, it's this,
and you'll improve.
And you will improve, yeah. So so from the opposite end of the spectrum to a little bit, what do you think? What are your greatest challenges? Or
I mean, probably the role play, mainly because for the other games we played, like even Ryan's campaign, we didn't really necessarily have to have a backstory or like role play exactly. Because
you did though. You had a good backstory, if I recall. Like I wasn't there from the beginning, but you always had like a here's where I'm from and here's what I'm about and that kind of thing.
But like my whole backstory was based on a different girl who started the campaign with us and then ended.
Right.
So like my whole backstory was just based around like the first session of like her and I, like, because we would always like she'd play with Josh when he was running campaigns, and it was just based off like her and I first session were like doing dumb things like we usually did, and we're like, yeah, so this is gonna be our backstory. It'll just be based off of what happened in this first session, kind of thing. So like,
which not a terrible idea either. I mean, considering the fact that from that first session to the end of that campaign, that was what, a year and a half.
Yeah.
Not a bad way to. I mean, if it was like 3 sessions, it'd be like, oh, that's kind of lame. Yeah. But a year and a half, like your backstory almost creates itself.
Yeah.
You almost have like an origin story, right?
Yeah, origin story during the campaign, whereas this one, like, you have an origin story and you kind of have like an actual character that you should be kind of like following. So it's a lot more difficult to be like, okay, this is what I want to do, but what would my character actually do in this? And
it's about switching that mindset, right?
Yeah.
Now, you said that the role playing of the character is one of the things that you struggle with, or that you're still trying to kind of get down pat.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like, what is the actual challenge there for you?
I think it's just because I'm a weird, awkward person, to be honest. I mean, I have a hard enough time being myself.
You're playing D&D, we're all weird, awkward people, that's the bottom line.
So, like, just being,
not Josh.
Yeah, not him, yeah. No, so I feel like it's just that, and then, like, because, like, my character, I'm like, okay, trying to think of, like, what's a thing that you think is smart, but is actually not smart, and, like, you have to, like, reason out, like, okay, why would somebody think this is smart?
Yeah.
Kind kind of thing.
Well, and I remember during that last campaign, maybe at like the 3/4 mark, I remember we took the first part of a session, or maybe even just a whole shorter session. I don't quite remember. And what we did is we just had like a small workshop on the idea of metagaming and role playing and that kind of thing, and just the best way to do it. Don't think about what you should do as a player. Think about what your character would do in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You have to in a sense treat it as real, so that you being someone who has spent maybe a lifetime knowing things about certain fantasies would say, well, I know that trolls can regenerate and that the only way to stop them is to hit them with fire. Well, you know that because you watched freaking Disney's Hercules as a kid. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. But your character, this might be the first time he's ever seen a troll. And while he might have a fire spell, he might not know to use it. He might say, well, I better hit it with my axe. And, oh my God, it's healing. Why is that happening? And that can be part of the difficulty. But so we did that learning session. And I personally found that from that workshop towards the end of the campaign onward, that you made leaps and bounds towards being able to role play. And if there was any kind of constructive feedback I would give you as your DM, it's that you've gotten really good at saying, what would my character do? And this is nitpicking. All I want to see now from all of my characters is more of that colorful, descriptive language when you're describing what you're doing. Like I said earlier, you don't want to just say, okay, it's my turn, I roll to attack the monster. It's like, okay, that gets the point across, and sometimes that's important when there's a lot going on. But it's also nice to sometimes hear, I raise my axe over my head and smash down, roll the dice, and I land a blow on his shoulder and then roll damage, and, it cuts deep into him and that kind of thing. I think that it, just like my lighting and just like our snacks, I think that type of descriptive language helps keep everyone in the game and it's interesting and fun. Yeah, it's engaging. Yeah, that's the perfect word for it.
That's fair. That makes sense.
Yeah. And again, not to single you out, I think that a lot of people could do that. Cole's very good at it. Our player who plays the actual classed bard, Ken LaFlaunt.
I love that name.
Yeah, Ken LaFlaunt.
It's like a guy that owns a snowmobile shop.
Ken
LaFlaunt Snowmobile, sponsored by Bombardier.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's good at it because much like Josh, he has a long history of doing things like theater and music and that type of thing.
We've acted together a few times.
Yeah, that's right. So he's quite good at it, and Ryan is quite good at it because he's Ryan. Forever. Yeah, and because he
DM. And he writes.
And he writes, yeah, absolutely. And you guys are definitely not bad at it either. It's just I want everyone to always be making that effort to try and get your brain out of the character sheet and into the character, if that makes sense. I might TM that. Out of the character sheet and into the character.
TM.
Yeah, TM. Cool. All right. I don't know. Anything else that you guys feel would be cool to talk about or mention, or should we just kind of come to a close at that?
Just here for the hat.
Just here for the hat. Good. Came for the video, stayed for the hat.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. Well, then maybe that's just a natural kind of period to the conversation. So we can leave it there for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Autumn Willow and Josh for putting up with me on their Saturday morning to do this little video. Again, kind of sorry about the circumstance of having to do this on the phone. If the audio is poor, if Josh's face is half cut off for part of the video like that. I apologize. Future videos will not have that issue. But yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day to you and yours if it happens to be the 17th in your part of the world when you watch this. Of March. It is the 17th today, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I don't know. 18th, 17th, my sister's birthday, St. Patrick's Day. It all just blends together. But yeah, so stay tuned for future videos of at the Players Pub, of the DM notes, and like I've mentioned in other videos, we're going to start doing things like battle reports, which you brought up for various miniatures games. I'm going to continue to try and net you and Josh into playing a miniatures game with us at some point. Pick your poison. We'll get you. We will get you. If anything's going to get you, Star Wars is going to get you. So one thing at a time, though. So thanks for watching, and my last apology will be that I now have to reach towards the screen to end this video. But enjoy the rest of your day or your evening, and we'll see you next time.